Thank you again for that fabulous panel. Thank you to everyone. I mean, what an outstanding topic and so much depth there. So for our final speaker of the day, we've had a Go Beavs. I know there's been a few Go Ducks out there. There's been a Go Vikings. But what we haven't heard is a Go Owls. Right? All right. So Dr. Nagi Naganathan began his tenure as the 7th president of the Oregon Institute of Technology in April of 2017. Yes, they're the Owls. Since his arrival at Oregon Tech, Dr. Naganathan has focused both internally and externally to extend the reach, recognition, and influence of the state's only polytechnic university. Dr. Naganathan earned a bachelor's degree with honors in medical engineering, a master's degree in mechanical and industrial engineering, and a PhD in mechanical engineering. Please welcome Dr. Naganathan to the stage.
Good afternoon. Come on, my students are louder than this in the afternoon. Good afternoon. So much better. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much to Oregon Business Council for creating a wonderful day of listening and learning. It's an honor for me to be on this stage. I thought it was so funny that Senator Wyden talked about his hoops dreams this morning, standing on this floor. You can only imagine my plight. I can't even think of dreaming hopes. So this is probably the only time I'll be ever close to the floor of the Moda Center. So Duncan, thank you for the invitation. As president of one of Oregon's 8 public universities, Oregon Institute of Technology, and as the current chair of the Oregon Council of Presidents for all the public universities, I can assure you that while some of us may be fierce foes on the athletic fields and courts, we are just as committed to working together fiercely for a thriving Oregon. Today, I've been asked to address about building a bridge between higher education and economy. I'm going to focus on industry-university partnerships. By the way, I'm using the word industry in a very generic way. It includes businesses of all kinds, agencies, and nonprofits. So when I talk about bridges, we all know they are everywhere. We don't give it a second thought when we see them or when we drive over them. The truth is that once a bridge is built, it just becomes a fixture in our landscape and even in our minds. But when we do take the time to think about it, we know that bridge was built because someone recognized a need for communities to have more mobility, both physical and social. According to the World Economic Forum, quote, a 10-point increase in each country's global social mobility index score could lead to a $514 billion increase in global GDP, end quote. And the global mobility comes from social mobility at every level, individuals, communities, states, and provinces and countries. Personally, if I am on this stage today, it is because I was able to experience that mobility in my personal journey. I refuse to subscribe what Joe Ritchie called so appropriately as the zip code destiny, and I think it is important at the individual level. Today, if another state is able to attract a $20 billion fab, or another state is able to command a preferred destination status, it is not just happenstance or luck. You all might have heard the quote, luck is a residue of design. I would even go further. I would say luck is a residue of design, planning, and execution. So I'm going to challenge you in a few places today. I will first refer you to a book published in 2000, The Silicon Valley Edge, it has a longer title, that documented what transpired in the Silicon Valley and how the partnerships between industries and universities flourished. I was also fortunate to experience the birth and implementation of the Third Frontier program in Ohio for over 15 years, which brought higher education, industry, and government together very intentionally. Now, Ann Mercer spoke about learning from other states. And I should add at this time, we have not been entirely silent in Oregon. In summer 2020, Business Oregon had the vision to assemble the Oregon Futures Commission, comprising of more than 30 caring leaders from across the state to create the 10-year innovation plan. What we need is the collective will to execute that comprehensive plan without a scarcity mindset that Derek Thompson talked about earlier today. Recently, we did demonstrate that collective will to come together and execute a plan in select areas, namely semiconductors and advanced manufacturing. We just did not talk about what we cannot do. We came together and we made it happen, and we owe a debt of gratitude to the Oregon Business Council team for building a framework to make that possible. Please join me in a round of hands for Duncan and his team. While the sector may be semiconductors, there is nothing semi in our resolve here. We will make the impact of these major legislative investments, which you heard from our legislative leaders, a reality. In the Semiconductor Task Force, as you heard in the previous panel, we heard over and over again from business and industry that the availability of talent is a key factor in where companies chose to do business. There are at least 6,300 projected new Oregon jobs in the industry as a result of the Federal CHIPS and Science Act and the State CHIPS Act. Preparing students for these critical jobs is a crucial element that will sustain and grow the industry and the economy in Oregon. Now, reflect on yourselves. Virtually all of us in this room have higher education credentials. When our children go to higher education institutions, we want them to graduate into high-paying jobs. I hear from our industry partners, they keep playing musical chairs with professionals with experiences. Constantly, they are hiring from each other. And in a way, Senate President Wagner beat me to this afternoon. So let's ask ourselves, how come higher education's role on the industry-university government partnerships was not one of the 10 topics we polled this morning on? That is where I go back to the definition of bridge. We get so comfortable with a reliable bridge, we forget about bridging to the future. But make no mistake, educating that workforce is a team sport. Perhaps I should title this section, Did You Know? Did you know industry needs technicians with 2-year degrees, and Oregon's community colleges like Mount Hood and PCC and 15 others are filling that need? Did you know industry also needs not just engineering scientists, but also engineering technologists with 4-year degrees, like those who graduate from Oregon Tech's engineering technology programs? We have a 100% placement rate in many of our programs, with starting salaries exceeding $60,000 for those students. And industries need engineers and scientists in research and development with masters and PhDs. Portland State, Oregon State, University of Oregon, OHSU, and Oregon Tech are all graduating advanced STEM graduates. And the work of the universities don't stop with semiconductors. As the city of Portland and our state continue to face challenges with behavioral health and houselessness, we heard plenty about it today, institutions of higher education are also working to address this crisis. Portland State, Southern Oregon, Eastern Oregon, and Western Oregon are all graduating the specialists we need to tackle this crisis by increasing the number of social workers and other professionals needed to create a new workforce in behavioral health. The research mission of the University of Oregon Bomber Institute is focused on the needs of our children and those who will train the teaching workforce of the future. At the Oregon Tech Behavior Improvement Clinic, experienced faculty train students to work with children who have intellectual and developmental disabilities. That clinic is the only facility of its kind in a 75-mile radius around our rural campus in Klamath Falls. In other words, every institution, from the research institutions to my Polytechnic University and to the regional comprehensive universities and the community colleges, we are all working to move our state forward. So one could ask, what's the challenge here? While we do well in coming together quickly for a common purpose in select areas of imminent needs, there is a lot more. When semiconductors were a crisis, we came together, but then we went back. So often you hear from the industry and the community, I did not know you had such a program. I did not know you put out those kind of graduates. So when it comes to connecting education and industry, we all can do our parts well, but an effective partnership comes from how we create a successful nexus of our efforts, knowing what each other has to offer. Industry in their defense, you heard from Ann, may not yet know what kind of talent they would need in 10 years. But more often, they do know what they are looking to accomplish. So we in higher education want to know how best to educate and prepare students to be innovative, curious, and be willing to welcome change and adapt to change. Today, we have an exhibit right in the above. You can see select examples of our efforts to address some of these questions, both in the classroom as well as outside, such as the case of the Oregon Manufacturing Innovation Center, R&D, that is hosted by Oregon Tech. So immediately after the session, I invite you to join us in the concourse where you will see the exhibits highlighting the work of students and faculty from public universities and community colleges. Your research and education-focused institutions are engaged in projects that are more than just exciting examples of cutting-edge research happening right here in Oregon. You will see they are relevant to building Oregon's economy and address the state's most pressing challenges. You will learn about talent and workforce development for the semiconductor industry. Yes, there are chips, but not the kind you eat. We are watching your calories too. So finally, you will see that the academics are not hot air. If any, they solve problems of hot air, smoke-filled hot air from wildfires. So visit Oregon Tech's Interdisciplinary Environmental Research Center, the AIR Center. So as I come to conclude here, I want to mention a conversation I had with Senator Wyden recently in Washington, D.C. We were discussing the new inverted internships model at Oregon Tech with the Boeing Collaborative Lab. This is a very unique enterprise we have created in partnership with Boeing, so students can have internships on campus without leaving rural Klamath Falls and then fighting housing in Seattle. And we talked about our track record of providing Boeing with several talented engineering graduates each year. So he had a very thoughtful follow-up question for me. He said, how come I keep hearing that industries cannot find talent? A few minutes later, I met Congresswoman Bonamici. She had the same question independently. So my hypothesis, my solution is we must open the curtains between industry and higher education wider to see where the opportunities and assets are and how we can recalibrate talent creation for the post-pandemic AI-influenced careers. You heard it from the panel a few minutes ago about AI careers. I was in Washington, D.C. I was at National Science Foundation. I had 10 people that were ready to talk about quantum computing. Even before we get to launch about artificial intelligence, there are going to be new kinds of careers that are going to be influenced by the new type of computing, which is quantum computing, different from the classical computing we all are negotiating at this time. So what I propose is we do so instead of extrapolating our own assumptions as to what the other side wants or could do. Let's come together and have a conversation. It has to be an intentional conversation. We cannot keep wondering what the other side is up to. So today, I challenge you, those from industry, government, create that intersection with university, industry, and government. Other states have done it and done it so successfully. We too can make it happen in the state of Oregon. So please go to the concourse, talk with our students, faculty, and staff. As Senator Wyden said, let's go out swinging. Let us challenge each other to pursue our goals and solve our challenges together and intentionally. Thank you for your active listening today. See you at the exhibits. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. Appreciate it. Thank you.